First contact at sea. The Pacific Ocean stretched endlessly before the USS Sentinel, its waters unusually still under the orange glow of sunset. Lieutenant Commander James Harrison stood on the bridge, his weathered hands gripping the railing as he studied the horizon. 20 years at sea had taught him to trust his instincts, and something felt wrong about these waters. Sonar reporting unusual readings, sir, Lieutenant Patricia Wong called from her station, her voice tight with confusion. It's like nothing I've seen before. The pattern keeps shifting, but it's too organized to be natural. Harrison moved to her station, studying the screen. The sonar display showed a massive object moving beneath them, but its signature constantly morphed, defying classification. How deep? That's the strange part, sir. It seems to be everywhere and nowhere at once. The readings suggest it's both at crushing depth and near the surface simultaneously. The ship's chief engineer, Marcus Rodriguez, appeared on the bridge, his normally calm demeanor shaken. Sir, we're getting strange power fluctuations throughout the ship. Systems are cycling on and off, but there's no mechanical explanation. Harrison was about to respond and the entire vessel shuddered. The metal beneath their feet vibrated at a frequency that set their teeth on edge. Warning klaxons blared as multiple systems reported failures. All stop. Harrison ordered, his voice cutting through the chaos. Full diagnostic, now. The ocean around them began to glow with an otherworldly blue-green light, spreading in concentric circles around the ship. The crew watched in stunned silence as the water seemed to become transparent, revealing glimpses of something massive moving beneath them. Sir, Wong whispered, whatever it is, it's bigger than the ship. The thing beneath them shifted, and for a moment, Harrison caught sight of what looked like an impossible eye larger than a submarine, staring up at them through the crystalline water. It wasn't the eye of any sea creature he knew, it held an intelligence that sent chills down his spine. Battle stations, he ordered quietly, never taking his eyes off the water. But hold your fire unless I give the command. We might be dealing with first contact here. The crew scrambled to their positions as the ship's weapon systems came online. Harrison knew they might be hopelessly outgunned, but he wouldn't go down without being ready to fight. A voice suddenly filled the bridge, not through any speakers, but directly in their minds. It spoke in a language no one understood, yet somehow conveyed feelings of curiosity and caution. Get me Dr. Vivian Patel from the science deck, Harrison commanded. If we're going to communicate with this thing, we need our best xenolinguist. Before Patel could arrive, the entity made its intentions clear. The water around the ship began to swirl, forming a perfect circle of calm in the center of a maelstrom. Images appeared in the minds of every crew member, flashes of other ships throughout history, disappearing into similar vortexes. Sir, Rodriguez called out, the engine room is reporting complete power loss. Whatever this thing is, it's draining our energy. Harrison watched as the circle of calm water began to spiral downward, creating a whirlpool that defied the laws of physics. The Sentinel was being pulled toward its center, and no amount of power would have been enough to break free. All hands, brace for impact, Harrison ordered through the ship-wide comm, we're about to go somewhere no human has gone before. As the ship began its descent into the impossible whirlpool, Harrison caught one last glimpse of the creature's eye. In that moment, he understood, this wasn't an attack. It was an invitation. The Sentinel plunged into the vortex, its hull groaning under pressures it was never designed to withstand. The crew held on as reality itself seemed to bend around them. Their instruments spun wildly, compass needles whirling in all directions as they descended into the unknown. The last thing Harrison saw before darkness took them was a network of light spreading across the ocean floor, not random bioluminescence, but a pattern too regular to be anything but artificial. They had found something that had been waiting in Earth's oceans for longer than humanity had sailed upon them. And now, for better or worse, first contact had been made. Depths of deception. The USS Sentinel emerged from the vortex into what appeared to be an underwater cavern of impossible size. Bioluminescent organisms lined the rocky ceiling hundreds of feet above them, casting an ethereal blue glow across the vessel's deck. Most incredibly, they were somehow still surrounded by water, yet the ship floated as if in a massive air pocket. "Damage report," Harrison called out, his voice steady despite the impossibility of their situation. "Hull integrity holding, sir," Rodriguez responded, checking his readouts with disbelief. "But according to our instruments, we're at a depth that should have crushed us instantly." "Something's protecting the ship." Dr. Vivian Patel burst onto the bridge, her dark eyes wide with excitement. "Commander, the readings are off the charts. The water around us has been altered at the molecular level. It's like nothing in any of our scientific records." Before Harrison could respond, the massive entity that had brought them here appeared before the ship. In the cavern's light, they could finally see it clearly, a being that seemed to shift between organic and mechanical forms, its surface covered in patterns that pulsed with internal light. The creature projected another series of images into their minds, but this time, Dr. Patel was ready. She had brought a prototype neural interface device, originally designed for deep-sea mammal communication. "It's trying to show us something," she said, adjusting the device's settings. "A history, our history, but from their perspective." The images became clearer, ancient ships disappearing into similar vortexes throughout human history. But instead of being destroyed, they were being studied. The creature and others like it had been observing humanity's maritime development for thousands of years. "Sir," Lieutenant Wong called out. "I'm picking up metal signatures all around us. Hundreds of them." Harrison ordered the external lights activated. As the beams cut through the strange water, the crew gasped. Surrounding them in the massive cavern were ships from every era of human naval history, ancient Greek triremes, Chinese junks, Spanish galleons, and more modern vessels. "They're perfectly preserved," Rodriguez whispered. "Like a museum." Dr. Patel's neural interface crackled with activity. "Commander, I'm getting clearer translations. They call themselves the Guardians. They're not just studying us, they're protecting us." "Protecting us from what?" Harrison asked. The answer came in another series of images, something massive stirring in the deepest trenches of Earth's oceans. Something that made the Guardian before them seem small in comparison. "Multiple contacts," Wong suddenly shouted. "Something's coming through the cavern entrance." 3 more ships emerged from swirling vortexes, a Chinese destroyer, a Russian submarine, and a British frigate. All had disappeared in the past month under mysterious circumstances. The Guardian's message became urgent, and Dr. Patel translated rapidly. "They're saying time is running out. Whatever they've been guarding against is awakening, and they need humanity's help." Harrison watched as the crews of the other vessels emerged onto their decks, looking as confused as his own people. Representatives from the world's major naval powers, all brought here for a purpose. "Look there," Rodriguez pointed to a massive wall of the cavern that was beginning to illuminate. Symbols and diagrams appeared, showing what looked like battle plans and strategic positions across Earth's oceans. "They're not just making first contact," Harrison realized. "They're recruiting us for a war." Dr. Patel nodded grimly as more information flowed through the neural interface. "A war that's been coming since before humans first took to the seas. The Guardians have been preparing us, guiding our naval technology development, waiting for the day we'd be ready to join them." The massive Guardian moved closer to the Sentinel, its eye level with the bridge. This time, its message came through clearly to everyone present: "The Deep Ones are rising. Will humanity stand with us?" Harrison looked at the faces of his crew, then at the other ships' crews watching from their vessels. In this impossible cavern, with proof of an ancient alliance surrounding them, he knew the next few moments would change the course of human history. The warning klaxons suddenly blared again, but this time, they were coming from every ship in the cavern. Something was approaching from the depths below, something that made even the Guardian retreat. The war wasn't coming. It was already here. The breach. The cavern shook as something massive struck its floor from below. The preserved ships from history bobbed violently in the altered water, their ancient hulls creaking with the motion. Harrison gripped the bridge railing as the Sentinel rocked with each impact. Multiple seismic disturbances, Wong reported, her fingers flying across her console. Whatever's coming up is big enough to register on every scale we have. Dr. Patel's neural interface was flooding with urgent signals from the Guardian. They're saying we need to move. Now. The deep ones, they're not just coming for us. They're going to breach the cavern's containment. The Russian submarine's captain, Commander Dmitry Volkov, established radio contact. American vessel, we are detecting pressure changes. If containment fails at this depth. He didn't need to finish. Everyone knew what would happen if normal ocean pressures suddenly returned to their position. They'd be crushed instantly. The Guardian's massive form suddenly enveloped all 4 modern vessels in a shimming field of energy. Images flooded their minds, escape routes, designated positions across Earth's oceans, defensive formations that had been planned for centuries. The British frigate HMS Dauntless is ready to move on your command, Captain Eleanor Wright's voice crackled over the radio. Though I dare say this isn't covered in any naval warfare manual. The Chinese destroyer Zheng also fell into formation, its captain, Liu Wei, adding, we follow the Guardian's lead. Our weapons are armed. Harrison watched as the ancient ships around them began to disappear, transported to safety by other Guardians that had appeared from the shadows. The history of human seafaring, preserved for this moment, being evacuated before hell broke loose. The cavern floor exploded upward. Through the debris and swirling water, they caught their first glimpse of the deep ones. Unlike the almost beautiful bioluminescence of the Guardians, these creatures were wrong in a way that defied description, massive forms of twisted flesh and crystalline growths that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. All vessels, emergency ascent pattern Delta, Harrison commanded, falling into the role of tactical lead. Follow the Guardian's shield exactly. Weapons free on my mark. The 4 vessels moved as one, protected by the Guardian's energy field as they rose through a newly formed tunnel in the cavern's ceiling. Behind them, more deep ones breached the cavern floor, their otherworldly shrieks penetrating even the Guardian's protective barrier. Dr. Patel worked frantically with her neural interface. The Guardians, they're saying the deep ones aren't just attacking us. They're after something specific. Something they've been protecting for millennia. What could be worth all this? Rodriguez asked, monitoring the ship's systems as they ascended. The answer came as they burst through to the open ocean. The Guardian's protective field allowed them to see clearly for miles through the water. What they saw changed everything they thought they knew about Earth's history. A massive structure stretched across the ocean floor, a city of impossible architecture, its spires and domes built from materials that seemed to shift between metal and crystal. It was ancient, far older than human civilization, yet hummed with power and life. Atlantis, Dr. Patel whispered, but the Guardian's message corrected her. This was no lost human city. It was a base, a monitoring station built by visitors who had arrived on Earth long before humans evolved. The Guardians were its protectors, and the Deep Ones, they were the original builders, corrupted by eons in the darkest trenches of space, returned to reclaim their creation. Multiple hostile contacts surfacing worldwide, Wong reported, her voice tense. Sir, they're attacking coastal cities across the globe. The Guardian's message became clear to all of them: humanity had been guided, tested, and prepared for this moment. Every naval advancement, every mysterious disappearance, every sea monster story, all part of a grand plan to ready Earth's defenders for this war. Harrison opened a channel to all 3 vessels. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to make history. Today, humanity joins the oldest war on Earth. Battle stations. As if in response, the Deep Ones rose from the depths around them, their twisted forms blocking out the sun. The Guardian's protective field hummed with power as all 4 ships turned to face the threat, weapons armed. The Battle of the Atlantic was about to begin again, but this time, humanity wasn't fighting alone. Below the surface. The first coordinated attack against the Deep Ones revealed just how thoroughly the Guardians had influenced human naval development. As the USS Sentinel's main guns fired, the Guardians' energy field somehow enhanced the shells, transforming standard ammunition into weapons that could harm the otherworldly entities. Multiple direct hits, Wong reported, tracking the impacts. The Russian sub's torpedoes are showing similar effects. Whatever the Guardians doing, it's making our weapons effective. The ocean around them had become a battlefield unlike anything in human history. The Deep Ones moved with terrible purpose, their crystalline growths firing beams of dark energy that the Guardian barely deflected. The British frigate's radar operator reported similar battles erupting across every ocean on Earth. Dr. Patel, Harrison called out, "We need answers. What exactly are we protecting down there?" The xenolinguist adjusted her neural interface, processing the flood of information from their Guardian ally. Her eyes widened as the truth became clear. "It's not just a base," she explained, her voice filled with awe. "It's a seed vault, a repository of life from thousands of worlds. The Guardians didn't just come here to watch us. They came to protect the greatest collection of biological and technological knowledge in this arm of the galaxy." Commander Volkov's voice crackled over the secure channel. "That explains why they've been guiding our technological development. We're not just fighters, we're inheritors." A massive Deep One breached the surface near the Chinese destroyer Zhenghe. Captain Lu's crew responded instantly, their enhanced weapons tearing into the creature's twisted flesh. But for each entity they destroyed, more rose from the depths. The Guardian suddenly projected a new series of images, showing the ancient city below shifting, panels opening in its structure. Something was emerging. Energy readings off the scale. Rodriguez shouted from his station. "Whatever's powering that facility, it's waking up." From the city below, massive forms rose, mechanical constructs that dwarfed even the largest Deep Ones. They moved with fluid grace despite their size, their designs clearly sharing aspects with both Guardian and human technology. "They're called the Sentinels," Dr. Patel translated rapidly. "Created by the original builders before the Deep One's corruption. They've been waiting down there, gathering power, while the Guardians prepared us for this moment." The mechanized giants engaged the Deep Ones, their weapons casting bright lines through the dark water. But Harrison noticed something crucial: they weren't fighting alone. Each construct seemed to be waiting, holding position near the human vessels. Captain Wright of the HMS Dauntless figured it out first. "They need pilots," she broadcast. "All this time, the Guardians weren't just teaching us to fight, they were teaching us to drive." The Guardian confirmed her theory, extending tendrils of energy toward each ship. They needed volunteers to interface with the ancient machines, to join minds with the constructs just as Dr. Patel had joined minds with the Guardian. "The neural interface can be modified," Patel said, already working on her device. "But whoever goes in, there's no guarantee they'll come back unchanged." Harrison looked at his crew, seeing the same determination in their eyes that he felt. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for thousands of years, whether they knew it or not. "All ships, select your best pilots," he ordered. "We're taking this fight to them." As crews scrambled to modify neural interfaces and select their champions, the Guardian showed them one final truth: the Deep Ones weren't just fighting for the seed vault. They were fighting to prevent what the Guardians had seen in humanity: the potential to surpass both civilizations, to become something greater than either creator or corrupted. The fate of not just Earth, but countless worlds preserved in the vault below, would depend on what happened in the next few hours. As the first volunteers stepped forward to interface with the ancient machines, Harrison realized humanity was about to take its first real step into a much larger universe. The war for Earth's oceans was becoming a war for Earth's future, and victory would require sacrifices that would be remembered for generations to come. Rising tide. The neural interfaces hummed with power as the chosen pilots merged with the ancient machines. From the USS Sentinel, Lieutenant Wong connected first, her consciousness expanding into the vast construct beneath her. Similar scenes played out across the other vessels, a young Russian sonar operator, a British weapons specialist, and a Chinese navigation officer, each joining with their respective machines. Neural link stable, Dr. Patel reported, monitoring their vital signs. The Guardians are helping manage the mental load, but these pilots are pushing human capabilities to their limits. Harrison watched in awe as the massive constructs, now crewed by human minds, moved with increasing confidence. Wong's machine, a towering giant of shifting metal and energy, executed a perfect combat role that would have made any submarine commander proud. "This is what they saw in us," Rodriguez said quietly. "Our ability to adapt, to take their technology and make it our own." The Deep Ones seemed to sense the change in their opponents. Their attacks became more frenzied, more desperate. Dark energy beams sliced through the water, but now the human-piloted constructs moved with practiced precision, protecting both themselves and the naval vessels. Through the Guardian's link, they all felt it, a massive disturbance approaching from the deepest trenches. The Deep One's leader was coming, drawn by the activation of the ancient machines. "All ships, battle formation Delta," Harrison commanded. "Construct pilots, prepare for heavy contact. This is what we've been training for, whether we knew it or not." The entity that rose from the depths defied description, a twisted leviathan of flesh and crystal, radiating an intelligence that was both ancient and utterly alien. In their minds, through the Guardian's translation, they heard its message: the experiment ends now. But humanity had no intention of being anyone's experiment any longer. The four constructs moved as one, their human pilots working with generations of naval combat experience. Wong led the charge, her machine executing maneuvers that the original builders had never imagined possible. The Guardian revealed the final piece of the puzzle: the seed vault wasn't just a repository of life. It was a template, a blueprint for evolution itself. The Deep Ones wanted to prevent the rise of new species that could challenge them. The Guardians had protected Earth because they saw in humanity the potential for something unprecedented, a species that could bridge the gap between organic and mechanical, between past and future. The battle that followed would be spoken of for generations. Human innovation combined with ancient technology as the constructs engaged the Deep One leader. The naval vessels provided support, their enhanced weapons targeting weak points that only human intuition could identify. Dr. Patel's neural interface caught the moment everything changed. The Deep One leader wasn't just attacking. It was running from something. The human pilots, through their connection to the ancient machines, had begun to alter them, improving them in ways their original builders never could. "The machines are evolving," Patel announced in wonder. "The pilots aren't just controlling them, they're changing them, merging human creativity with their ancient power." The Deep One leader recognized the threat too late. The four constructs, now bearing modifications that reflected their human pilots' understanding of naval warfare, surrounded it. The waters of the Atlantic burned with energy as ancient powers met human determination. In the end, it wasn't just superior firepower that won the day. It was Lieutenant Wong's split-second decision to execute a maneuver from an old submarine warfare manual, combined with the Russian pilot's expertise in depth charges, the British pilot's understanding of sonar harmonics, and the Chinese pilot's mastery of fluid dynamics. The Deep One leader fell, its destruction sending shockwaves through its followers. The remaining entities retreated to the trenches from which they came, leaving behind an ocean forever changed by what had transpired. As the pilots safely disconnected from the constructs, the Guardian shared one final vision: a future where humanity would join them not as subordinates, but as equals. The seed vault's knowledge would be shared, allowing Earth to take its place among the stars. Harrison looked at his crew, transformed by what they had witnessed and achieved. "Send word to all commands," he ordered. "The oceans have new Guardians now. The ancient machines knelt before their human pilots, no longer separate entities but true partners in Earth's defense. The age of sea monsters and mysterious disappearances was ending. In its place, a new era was dawning, one where humanity would help protect not just their own world, but countless others preserved in the vault below. As the sun rose over the Atlantic, the combined fleet of human and guardian vessels began the journey home. They carried with them not just victory, but a new understanding of their place in the universe. The mysteries of the deep had been revealed, and humanity had proven worthy of their greatest secrets.